Hey everybody, Amy from Worthy Written Words. Today we're working in this hardcover Book of Mormon from Deseret Book, and we're going to be focusing on Mosiah chapter 17 verses 1 and 2. The first step is to washi tape off all of the print. Now I only did the margins, and you'll see that later on this wasn't the best idea because I still managed to get acrylic paint on the words. So you might want to take a piece of scrap paper and put that over your words as well and just washi tape the scrap paper on, or put washi tape over all your words, whatever you choose to do. But you want to cover those up so that they get protected from the paint. Next, I'm going to use this black acrylic paint from Basics, but any black acrylic craft paint will work just fine. And you're going to want either a foam brush or a flat paintbrush and a piece of scrap paper behind your work. No prep needs to be done for this. You don't need any gesso before you go ahead and use the acrylic paints. So you're going to paint a coat of black acrylic paint over all of the margins, and I covered up the footnotes. You don't have to if you want the footnotes. In fact, we're not really going to put anything on top of the footnotes, so you can keep them there if you want. But just one coat should be plenty thick enough. And you do, see, I made a mistake and I got, what are you going to do? I got black paint on the words. So that's why I suggested earlier that you cover that up, because you can never be too careful. I'll show you later how I end up fixing that problem. But for now, go ahead and cover the rest of it up with the black paint. After that black paint has had a chance to dry, I'm going to use some scrap paper to cover up my words. Again, if you did this at the beginning, then that's already done, so good for you. We're going to use some gold acrylic paint. Any gold acrylic paint will work. This one is pure gold, and all the links will be in the description below. And you want a flat paintbrush, and then you also want to water this paint down so that it's really liquidy. So I'm just using a water brush that has water in it and adding it to the acrylic paint. You can see I'm mixing it right there. And then I flick it onto the black paint using just my finger and brushing it across the bristles. This is optional. You don't have to do this step because we're going to show you another way to get some shimmery gold on the page, but this definitely adds a lot. And then you can wait for a few minutes for that to dry, or you can use a heated tool like I'm using, and it'll dry much faster. And then when that's all done, you can remove the washi tape. And as always, if it starts to rip, then stop and pull from the other direction. Now I'm going to show you how to make this glitter pen using the water brush from your kit and the Perfect Pearls. You basically fill up the water brush by twisting it open, which is the opposite way you would normally think. And then you just simply add Perfect Pearls into the pen. I'm just using scissors. You can use something more appropriate if you have it, but that's what I had. So you tap that in there, put the lid back on, and shake it up, and it'll give you a really fun, shimmery, glitter, watery pen. This is only one thing you can do with Perfect Pearls, the powder. I'm going to show you another way to use Perfect Pearls in this video later on, but for now, we're just going to use this and put the water on top of all of the black. And because of the Perfect Pearls powder, it can clog up your pen a little bit, so you might need to work it through. But you can see here it does have an effect. And it's really hard on the video for it to be seen when it's all done and dry. I tried to show you by moving it in the sunlight, but it wasn't showing up really at all. But it leaves like a small coat of really fine glitter all over the black. While I'm applying this glitter to the top of the page, I'm going to tell you how I fix the verse with the paint on it. I have a lot of Book of Mormons that I use. I have them in different sizes and different companies for various reasons for work. And I also have some that I use for practice, which is when I'm figuring out a design that I want to do in my Bible, I'll practice it out first and figure out everything not to do, and then I'll do it for real in a real one. So in this case, what I ended up doing to fix that paint spot is I went to a practice Book of Mormon and I cut out the exact same verse from that page because I knew that I would be okay to take it out of that one. If this is something you're interested in, I highly recommend having a practice one just to try out different supplies in. And you'll see that I just attach it with some double-sided sticky tape or photo splits, and I also use a glue stick. And it's super simple, and when I'm done, you can't even tell that I messed up to begin with. Next, we're going to use our stickers, but before you put them on your page, there is a white line all around the border from the cutting of the Cricut. And so to fix that, since it's up against a black background, I'm taking a black Sharpie and just drawing on the edges. You can kind of see that white that is showing up on the border, and it's just from mainly the sides of the sticker paper. And by doing this, it just has a more flawless look between the background and the sticker itself. And I'm going to do this for both stickers before I put them on the page. And you can switch out the hand for whatever one you want to use. You just can stick the other one on top. And then depending on how wide your margin is, and depending on how you feel about covering up words, that's how you can decide where to put your actual sticker. And then whatever extra you have sticking off your page, just take a pair of scissors and cut it off. Also, you can see on the back page that it didn't have any of the acrylic paint bleed through. That's the great thing with acrylics. Next, I'm going to use this Gelatos. It is the gold champagne from a metallic kit, and this is optional. But I'm using this along with my glitter pen that we made earlier, and that's how I'm highlighting the verse. If you don't have this or don't want to invest in the Gelatos, you can just use the glitter pen. I think that using the Gelatos just makes it darker. And you can see I'm kind of struggling again to get the water to come out. So the glitter pen does have its pros and its cons. But I'm using that to highlight the verse. And then I'm also going to use the Gelatos when I'm done with that to add more gold to the sparkler. Because this is a matte sticker paper, it doesn't really blend very well with my finger. So I have to add some water to it. But you don't want to add too much water because then it'll make the paper underneath pillage or pill or whatever that word is, where it creates, it deteriorates the paper. So I just use a little bit of water, rub that in, and use my heat tool to dry that real quick. Again, that's optional. You can leave the stickers as they came in the kit. I was just trying to add a little more gold and glitter. Next, I'm going to use my black glaze pen. I use this almost every time I do a page, and I'm going to use it to outline the verse. Now, word of warning, when you use Gelatos, it's really bad on your pens. So you can see I'm kind of going outside of the Gelatos rather than on top. And I will go on top for the words here in a minute, but I'm trying to limit the amount that I am. I think by adding the water to the Gelatos, it lessened its thickness, the creaminess that it usually has. Because if you try and use pens on regular straight Gelatos, it will ruin your pen. So just a word of warning. Now I'm going to show you another technique to use perfect pearls. For this, you're going to need this Versamark ink pad. It's specifically meant to use with perfect pearls, and a stamp. Now this, I'm using a date stamp. I put it on the Versamark ink pad, and again, it's completely like clear, so you can't see. And then I put my stamp pad on the page carefully to not smudge it. This particular stamp that I'm using is really small and detailed, so overall this technique works better if you have a bigger stamp where it's not so dependent on it being perfect. But after you put that stamp on, you just put the powder all over it, and it will attach to the clear ink, and you get the extra off by using a dry paintbrush. And you just use the paintbrush and swipe it all onto, you can see I have a piece of scrap paper behind it. And the reason you want to do a piece of paper is so that you can save all that powder and just put it right back in so you can use it again and you don't waste it every time. So I have this date now in Perfect Pearls. I'm going to let that dry and then clean it up, because if you do it too soon, then it's going to just wipe away. So you got to let it dry before you mess with it. And because I use such a small stamp, the details got a little messy, and so I'm just cleaning that up with a regular Jelly Roll black pen. Normally with this technique, like I said, you have a bigger stamp and it's not so important that it's readable. So anyways, I encourage you to look up all the different ways you can use perfect pearls. There's lots of different methods, and these are just two that I've shown you today. The last thing to do using the tinsel and paper clip is to make the sparkler paperclip bookmark. So the idea is we're going to fold it over and hot glue it, and then puff out the tinsel into a ball shape and just glue that to the paper clip. It's really easy and really simple. So first you get the hot glue, and I decided to just stick it on the tinsel and glue it all together, and then you puff it out so that the tinsel is in the ball shape. And when it's in the shape that you like, you can cut it with scissors so that it's shorter, because it's kind of really long and it's going to shed a lot. But you can trim it as little or as much as you want until it's the size that you like. And I like to leave some of them longer and some of them shorter so that it's more random in appearance. And then you're done. And then when it's all done, I attach it to the top of my page and then hold it in place with the strip of washi tape. This page is done. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you can see what I'm up to next time. See ya!